Minnesota Twins bounce back and win game 2 versus the G-Men in the Bay 4-2, and we're breaking it all down on the Locked On Twins POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Twins POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back on the lab, back at it. Another Minnesota Twins POSTCAST episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. You got myself, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman. That's the man. Sweet Lou Hennessy, Twins expert over at Zone Coverage MN. He's on X at Sweet Lou MN. And Lou, before we jump into all the action from tonight's game, quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use code, this is all lowercase, LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Okay, man, Twins final series before the All-Star break here on the West Coast in the Bay, taking on the sub-500 Giants. You lose game 1 last night, 7-1. Game 2 this evening, you got Simeon Woods Richardson on the mound. He was his usual consistent self for the most part, only made it, 4 1/3 this time. Did give up 7 hits, but only 2 earned, which is most important, and 7 more Ks on his resume now as well. So that was nice. Twins on the board first. Top 4, Matt Wallner, he's been red hot. Double RBI, that scores Jeffers. Santana knocks him in off an error. That makes it 2-0 Twins. Then the Giants chip away in the 4th and the 5th. They end up tying it back up at 2s. But very next inning, Carlos Santana hits the solo shot to left field, which it's almost too bad. It's kind of bittersweet because the home run streak ended last night, so that would have kept the party going. Nonetheless, his 13th home run of the year. That puts the Twins up 1. Twins do add an insurance run in the 9th inning. That makes it 4-2, and that was all she wrote, man. Cole Sands, Alcala, Jax, Duran didn't allow a single run the rest of the way. In fact, they only allowed 1 hit through 4 2/3 innings. So that was great to see as well. Twins jump up to 54-41 on the year, back up to 13 games above 500. Cleveland won tonight versus Tampa 4-2. So 4.5 games back from Cleveland in the AL Central. Sweet Lou, biggest takeaways, 8 topics, and then we'll talk about Simeon Woods Richardson's day as well.
Look, Oracle's a big ballpark, but I guess it just wasn't big enough for the Twins tonight. And Carlos Santana coming in and getting that scraper right along the left field foul pole was pretty special. That makes it, I believe that was the last home run that he needed to get versus all 30 teams or in all 30 home
cool.
ballparks.
Very cool.
So I think I've heard from Dustin Morris, the Twins PRs are saying that Carlos Santana called his shot today and said, it's happening. I'm getting this today. So glad that he could follow through in a special moment for him.
No Miranda for second game in a row? No Correa tonight. You had Vasquez at third base over there in the dirt. Not often you get Jeffers and Vasquez not only in the lineup together, but in the field together as well. So a couple interesting moves out there today from Rocco. Yeah.
Definitely. And, you got to do what you got to do. Somebody has to play third base.
Right.
So it's a tricky situation. It was one where earlier this week when Kyle Farmer went down with an injury and they brought up Ayer Camargo instead of somebody like Edward Julian. That's where it kind of comes back to bite, because then they could have had Julian playing second tonight, Lee moving over to third. Anyway, but not preferable, but glad they got out with a win, and at least Vasquez got a hit near the end of the game there, which is good.
Well, and how did he look defensively for the people that didn't get to watch all 9 innings? How did he look? How many hot shots did he get over there at the corner at third base? And did he look like a natural, or okay, you know what? Glad this is only a small sample kind of thing.
You know what? His uniform fits him so well. He looks so good in those pinstripes, man. I'm going to tell you that. He looks, he's got a great smile on his face and determination in his eyes, but let's leave it at that.
Let's leave it at that. All right. Woods Richardson's day on the mound, 4 1/3, 7 hits, but only 2 earned, plus the 7 Ks, 1 walk, 86 pitches. We've gotten kind of used to him. I was looking at his last 4 or 5 game logs. Kind of got used to him going 5+ innings consistently for feels like the past handful or 2 starts. Not the case today. What'd you see from him tonight with 7 hits, but 7 Ks, and then getting pulled in the 5th like that?
I think until he ran into some trouble there in the fifth, he was looking
Hmm.
pretty good. He was, even giving up a run there. He, I thought looked pretty solid. He had what,
Yeah.
7 strikeouts in that limited time. He
Yep.
seemed to be in control of most at bats. He had really good body language, which is all stuff that you're going to look for with Sim. So raw. He's 23 years old, so I think that getting these short outings, I think it's natural. And as he kind of learns and develops, he can kind of get through those late game situations when teams kind of come back to bite him a little bit. So I think this is par for the course, and it helps that the bullpen's going to be getting a nice break next week. So Rocco might be a little more eager to get to them, knowing that they're going to have some rest days coming up.
Yeah, and I asked Theo, like, what's the temperature of the starting rotation right now? So I'm not going to reiterate all that, but like, where does the bullpen, I guess, fit in this whole equation? Because they've been overachievers for the most part, the at least first month or two, and like, where do they rank? I guess if you had to place them among the rest of the league and like some of the important statistics and categories.
I think their bullpen has been really impressive for a pretty good stretch here. I don't think that there's a ton of big glaring holes in the bullpen. I think maybe some high leverage lefty arms. Thielbar hasn't his whole body of work this year hasn't been super impressive. He's been a little better of late, which has been good to see. But honestly, I think, guys, you think about Cole Sands, you think about Alcala, you think about Josh Stalmont, who just gave up his first earned run of the whole season yesterday. These guys are stepping up. And then, of course, Griffin Jackson, Joan Duran, fantastic as ever in the 8th and 9th inning there.
Is there one guy whose stock is kind of pointing up back there a little bit more than the others? I know Stalmont was pretty solid, but all of a sudden I kind of jinxed him almost mentally more than anything because the last like 2 or 3 outings, he's been a little rocky, but man, he was looking solid. Whose stock is like pointed up back there the most?
I'd say maybe Jorge Alcala.
Okay.
He was kind of shuffled between AAA and the majors earlier this year, and that was not necessarily because he was failing at the big league level, but it was more so that he had the options, and that was going to be kind of part of the plan if they're going to have that. I think his stock is definitely going up. He's turned into quite the buzzsaw. Lots of strikeouts, lots of swing and miss, and a lot fewer. I guess you could say brain farts that he was showing earlier on in the year, which has been really good to see from a young pitcher. So I'll say Jorge Alcala.
What's it been like seeing Taylor Rogers again and have him go up against this lineup? I know you mentioned him as a potential trade target at the deadline, so kind of nice to see him up close and personal. But how's he been looking, I guess? Like, has he been good?
I think overall he's been pretty solid. He didn't look it tonight necessarily, but overall his body of work has been pretty solid. I do think it's pretty unlikely that the Twins would target him. He'd be a personal favorite for them to go out and get, if you were asking me. But just based on his price tag and his age and just the assets that maybe it would take to get him in a trade, I don't see it happening. But it would be pretty fun.
Kepler kind of grinded him down there with like a 9-10 pitch at bat there. I think it was like his second at bat, like second batter faced. So that was kind of interesting as well. Rocco report, favorite or least favorite move or decision from today's game. So game 2 versus San Francisco, the Rocco report, it says what?
I kind of, like we talked about, I think I kind of like the plan of, kind of racing to see when they can get to their really top bullpen arms, and coming right out the gate with Cole Sands in the 5th there. Sands has been really solid for the last month or so. His strikeouts have gone way up. His walks have gone way down, which is something, 2 of the biggest underlying numbers that you're looking for with a reliever. So I'm kind of happy that at Sim's kind of first, foray into kind of trouble there in the mid innings that Rocco said, okay, let's do it. We got off days coming up. Let's get right into Cole Sands here.
I like it. Well said. Good breakdown per usual. Plenty more deep dive from this one. Plus, we got our nerdy stat of the day. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors, they got everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to the ultimate peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights. They got it all. And whether you're into speed, power, or style, they got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back with all the parts you need at the prices you want. Easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Okay, one game away from the All-Star break. So give me a couple first half awards for the Twins. We started to rip through a couple of these with Theo last night, so we'll just finish the rest kind of rapid fire. Correa, unanimous MVP. Joe Ryan, Cy Young. Theo said Griffin Jacks, which I thought was kind of respectable. Joe Ryan, number 2. What do you think about that? Cy Young for the Twins.
Those are definitely the two names that come to the forefront there. I think if you're talking about kind of peak dominance, Jax has shown that from an inning to inning basis, but it's just so valuable to have a plus starting pitcher that Joe Ryan might still just get the vote just because of his body of work.
Yeah, agreed. Well said. Kind of in their own tier there, those top two for sure. Biggest overachiever compared to preseason expectations through, again, just this first half.
That's tough. There's a lot of guys
nice to have a couple options here.
I know it's a good problem to have. I might still say Willie Castro. He had a really solid year last year. He was probably the slam dunk pick for that last season because he was a minor league signing and then coming in and having a pretty solid debut with the Twins. But this year he's taking it to a whole new level and it's leading him right to the All-Star game. So I'll put Willie Castro up in that bucket.
I like that one. If we talk biggest overachiever, we got to talk biggest underachiever. So biggest underachiever, I guess, through this first half. Ed Julian, is he in the mix or who you got on the forefront of your mind?
I think I might go with Alex Kirilloff.
Sure.
Unfortunately, it sounds like maybe that's injury related, but whether that's the case or not, he'd be a huge compliment as a left-handed first baseman if he could have made it work. And it didn't happen. And I'm not sure where it goes from here. I think he's kind of assessing his options and getting second opinions on some of his back medicals and stuff. So I'll say Alex Kirilloff is the underachiever or overachiever. What do we say?
Underachiever. Yeah. Guy who's going to redeem himself the most or improve just their stock, right? Their overall stock the most in the second half. Who do you have pegged for a big second half here after the All-Star break?
I think it'd be really fun to see Matt Wallner keep up his pace that he's put forth since coming back. Really, it was just such a small sample size before he got sent down, which it was brutal, and I think he really did need a reset. But I'm happy to see the Matt Wallner that came up and really dominated for 3-4 months last year. Yeah. Hopefully, he can be that guy. I think a dark horse for this might be Louis Varland. I would have my fingers crossed that maybe they could do the same thing they did last year and convert him into a reliever in August and just really add him to that mix back there because he was electric.
Yeah, I like that as an option back there. A lot of people maybe thinking about that in the back of their minds, but again, just doesn't get talked about a ton because it's such a kind of wait and see approach kind of thing. One possible trade Thad Levine and Derek Falvey should make, in your opinion.
That's tough. I think this is going to be a tough year to do it, to make any sort of kind of momentous trade happen like that. Okay. I think it would be really fun to see a late inning bullpen arm added to the mix so that there's not so much hesitancy to use Griffin Jackson, John Durant 2 or 3 days in a row. Yeah. It'd be nice to have a third in the mix there, but some of their internal guys are also filling that role really well right now. So if you just add another one to that, that'd be really fun to see, especially of the left-handed variety. So, I'm talking about guys like Matt Moore, who the Twins have looked at in the past, Tanner Scott from the Marlins. There's a few others that are out there.
What about around the rest of the league, right? Like the Athletic came out with their first half awards yesterday. Okay, Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge, the MVPs, AL, NL. Bo Bichette was least valuable player. Like, has he been that bad? Are the Blue Jays that bad this year too?
The Blue Jays have really, really stumbled. They just cannot seem to find their way. I think guys like Vladdy Jr. are kind of coming along and are going to be enticing trade chips. I don't necessarily see him or Bo going anywhere necessarily. I think they would like to make something work in Toronto with a long-term deal. But they are not performing up to expectations. And in the AL East, it's going to be hard to eat like that.
Yeah, no doubt. What else around the league has caught your eye the most just from an individual player perspective now that we're at that halfway mark? Like rookie of the years, guys. How about that? Just most surprising first halves, whatever it may be.
Well, one storyline that I'm kind of keeping an eye on right now as we approach the trade deadline is the Los Angeles Dodgers and their need for a starting pitcher. They have like 7 guys on the IL right now, and of course Shohei Ohtani not pitching this year. They're still obviously in contention, and they're a super team. There's a lot invested to this year for them, so I could see them going out and getting one of the bigger players in a starting pitcher by the deadline. Is that a Tarek Skubal? Is that, I don't know if somebody like Max Scherzer would waive their no trade clause. They've kind of suggested that in the past. It'd be kind of fun to see him go back to the Dodgers again, like he did a couple years ago. But keep an eye on the Dodgers as a big player at the trade market come end of July.
Love that. That's a good one. Is Paul Skeens just running away with the Rookie of the Year in the NL? I got to imagine. I mean, he's just been absolutely insane, right?
Boy, if not MVP at this point, with all the buzz he's been getting. Crazy. I don't know. Okay, maybe not MVP, but he's been electric, and I'm so glad that he's getting the honor to start the All-Star game because he's turned into must-see TV.
He's been phenomenal, man. Nerdy stat of the daytime. Give us some sort of crazy stat or fun analytic, Twins related, of course, laid on us. What do you got tonight?
Yeah, so coming into tonight's start, Simeon Woods Richardson has allowed a .216 slugging percentage on his elevated fastballs. So that's at the top third of the zone or above. So getting guys to kind of chase that high heat. That's 7th best in all of baseball this season. And there's a Twin that is above him a couple slots. Pablo Lopez is 4th in all of baseball in that regard. So maybe some signs that, hey, if he can execute that and keep elevating that fastball and not leaving the cement mixers in there towards the middle of the plate, maybe he'd be down for some positive regression here.
Very interesting. Yeah, not something you think when you think of Pablo's first half start this year. So that's a good one, as always. All right, don't go anywhere. We got to preview Game 3 versus the G-Men in the Bay tomorrow night. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode also brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members to date. And for me and my money, it's by far the easiest and most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports and you watch your favorite players. All you got to do, so simple. You pick more or you pick less on 2 or more player stats, and you watch the winnings roll in. Baseball season, obviously in full swing. So whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, home runs, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code, this is all lowercase, Locked On MLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Okay, Game 3 tomorrow, the final game of the first half before the All-Star break. Not sure who's on the mound for the Twins for that one, by the way. But last game of the first half, though, season's just absolutely flying. Anything noteworthy you're looking for in this one? You think Vasquez is out there at third base again or whatnot? Give us your notes.
I think that Chris Paddock is going to be starting tomorrow. I think that's the tentative plan. If they haven't announced it already, I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to go with. So it'll be good to see him get his chance here. And like I said, with so many off days, if he does struggle, they can throw some guys in there early. I think that this will be kind of a good exclamation point on the unofficial first half for the Twins. If you think about last year, they limped into the All-Star break and they got pounded, swept by the Orioles in 3 games leading up to it. So I think it even pushed them under 500 at that point. So now they're 13 games above 500. And sometimes it feels like we kind of forget that and keep that, last year was not necessarily all rosy at this point of the season. And they ended up going on a run. So let's see what happens going here forth in 2024.
No, really good point. I mean, do you feel good? Obviously not what we all expected from this first half when it's, we're talking about the AL Central race, but do you feel good where they're at right now, 4.5 games back from Cleveland after everything you've seen them put together the last month and change?
Yeah, I think you have to feel encouraged. I think it's also fair to expect some regression from guys that are maybe overachieving and they're going to come back down to earth a little bit. Yeah. It's also reasonable to expect some positive regression from someone like Pablo Lopez or from some underwhelming guys that are supposed to be big parts of this team.
Well, how about Cleveland? Can Cleveland regress? Is that like a thing? Is that possible?
Can
Cleveland Guardians regress at all in anything ever one time?
I think I have to check the rule book. I got to get back to you. It feels like it's not.
You don't need to check it. I'll tell you. No, they won't. They can't, and they won't.
Yep, exactly. But I think it'll be a fun race to the end. We're kind of starting to see them come back down to earth a little bit, even though the losses aren't tracking in the same exact way. So, yeah, I think that'll be a really fun race for the crown in the AL Central.
Yeah, should be an absolute dramatic race to the finish line for sure. All right, couple quickies to close. MLB draft tomorrow. Is that tomorrow already? Twins
That's
have the
tomorrow.
21st and 33rd pick. I asked Theo this, but I'll ask you as well. Just give me something. I'm such an NFL draft nerd, so I love this stuff. But give me something noteworthy I can remember for tomorrow. I can look forward to, like, the biggest need for the Twins. Obviously, we've kind of touched on that a little bit, but maybe a name or two you've seen linked or heard to the Twins specifically. Whatever you got.
Sure. So, it's really tricky with baseball because these guys don't become
Yeah,
immediate impacts, of course, unless you're Paul Skeens. But
crazy.
I think it'll be tricky to really pin down any names specifically. But I would keep an eye on Brody Brecht from the University of Iowa. He's a
Okay.
college pitcher. He's been pumping heat. He walks a ton of guys. And if he goes in the first round, he's going to have one of the highest walk rates in all of the first history of first round
Tells me
starting
his
pitchers.
fastball, or he must have some really sweet junk, though,
Sure.
outside of the walks to go in the first round then, right?
Sure, yeah, and some of the draft coverage, a lot of it that I've been listening to actually comes from Theo Tollefson and the podcast that he produces with Jamie Cameron and
Yeah, I
Jeremy
love that.
Nygaard from Twins Daily. They do a really great job. So they have a ton of really awesome names to keep an eye on. Brody Brecht is one of them.
Mhm.
Carson Benj is another one, another college player.
Where's he from? What college?
Benj, he was from Oklahoma State, I want to
Okay.
say.
Okay.
Anyway, so there's some good college bats out there that we've seen this front office lean into in the first round in the past. Every year is different. You never know. They're never going to go with the same exact type of player in every first round, but
Yeah.
there's certainly a lot to choose from if they do go that route this year.
Yeah, I believe Matt Wallner, not a first rounder, but 39th overall pick. He
Yeah.
was another college bat as well there. To your point, that they definitely target those guys. And again, not just the 21st, 26th, 21st overall pick, 33rd overall pick as well, to be able to go kind of bang there at the end of the first round. Maybe can do some nice damage there for sure. Last year's class, man, it doesn't sound like this year's class touches what last year's class was. Last year's class, so fun. You got those top 5 studs there.
Yeah.
Cleveland's got the 1-1 this year, though. Who do you think they're going to take?
I could see them trying to go cheap and save a little bit of money and go for somebody like JJ Weatherholtz. Otherwise, a couple other big names. Travis Bazzana is a college infielder who had an excellent campaign, and Charlie Condon also had one of the better years. I think for the University of Georgia, had one of the best college seasons this year.
Love it. Okay, last one, then we'll get out of here. Does Max Kepler have any value in a trade, or could you see that even in the realm of possibilities? Like, you got plenty of warm bodies in the corner outfield: Castro, Austin Martin, who I know is hurt right now, but Larnach, Wallner, Kirilloff, plus Rodriguez waiting down on the wings eventually in the minors as well. Could, or maybe I should say should, Kepler be available? And I guess, is he even worth anything to anyone at this point, if you had to guess? Like, any value to a contending team that may want him?
Look, he's got value, but I don't think it's the kind of value that's going to help the Twins this year in their pursuit of a championship. It might be some kind of younger guys and maybe single A, something like that. I feel like if they do go for trading Max Kepler this year, it's to create space for the rest of their roster and maybe a potential bigger move coming down the line. Anything is possible, but I never put a Max Kepler trade as likely when it comes to these situations.
No, I think that makes sense as well. I was going through some mailbag questions, and that was on there, and I thought that was interesting. I agree, though, probably a lot less likely than actually watching something like that come to fruition at the end of the day. Probably won't happen, but you never know. Always fun talking Twins with you, Lou. Twins bounce back. They take game 2 in the Bay versus the G-Men. 4-2 was the final. 4.5 back from Cleveland. Game 3 is tomorrow. First pitch, 3:05 p.m., and then it's All-Star Week, so enjoy all the festivities. As always, huge shout-out to all the everydayers out there that always join us on the stream, night in, night out. Rest assured, we'll be back each and every game right here to break it all down. Quick reminder as well, got to go check out all of Lou's work on X, at SweetLouMN, plus all the work he's always ripping up over at ZoneCoverageMN.com as well. If it's not too much trouble, go like this video, subscribe to the channel, help us get to 8,000 subscribers. I promise. I've been bringing this up for like 3 months, but I do promise we are very close. So that's always much, much appreciated. That'll do it for us. That's Sweet Lou. I'm Luke Inman on X, at Luke_Spinman. We'll see you next time. But until then, signing out.